Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy Nate Skinner about to talk some sports here live on Facebook, live on YouTube as well at Nate Skinner. We got to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Cleveland Browns 27-14. They do improve to 10-3. Some good stuff to talk about here in this game. Closely contested contest in the first half. We're going to go right through some of this and not just talk about the game. We're going to talk about what does the future look like. You're 10-3. The Ravens are 8-5. I do have some good stuff to compare scheduling wise, where you can paint the big picture here. No George Pickens yesterday, inactive about 30 minutes before the game, which had Scotty Miller suit up. He got a helmet yesterday. Originally, though, when you look at the video on CBS, Mike Tomlin thought Pickens was going to play, but eventually Pickens didn't play because they thought he could not play the needed snaps to be a huge contributor. George Pickens is the number one wide receiver, no doubt there. I thought a little bit yesterday showed George Pickens' value, not just as a top-tier receiver, wide receiver one, but why you should pay him big money as a wide receiver. I know the wide receiver market has gotten out of hand. You have guys like Justin Jefferson but has been making big money in the 30 million range. Brandon Ayuk wanted about 28 million, got around that number in his contract. So paying your receiver is a broken market right now, just with how big everything can get. Also, too, what's fun is for these receivers that are playing at wide receiver one caliber, just too good of a duo to break up. They can secure the bag basically. But George Pickens showed why he deserves a big money contract. I would pay him personally, not just because he's on the Steelers, but because he has some good talent. He knows how to control his body near the sideline when you throw him a catch ball. He's got that jump ball ability, like I mentioned. You can throw him on a go route, and he can go right under the ball. He's one of one, George Pickens. I know he can be a little bit of a quote unquote diva sometimes, or have some stupid moments or moments out of just losing and not being in the right state of mind at that moment. He's a competitive dude. Love that about George Pickens. He's a competitive dude. But let's dive into the game here. 27-14 win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, improving them to 10-3. Some stats for the Steelers here. Rushing-wise, they had 120 yards. Now, if you watched the game yesterday, you wouldn't have thought, hey, the Steelers had 120 yards rushing, because the Cleveland Browns just weren't giving us a lot of room, besides a couple big runs from Najee and Jalen. Nothing really too intriguing. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 53 yards, 3.3 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Jalen Warren, 9 carries, 47 yards, 5.2 yards, 25 reception yards. I really thought yesterday was a Jalen Warren type game. Not only was he breaking off some big runs and having some big chunk plays. Now, I'm not talking crazy amounts, but he did have some chunk plays that I do like to see out of him, being running back too. So that was always fun to see. Man, just really in general with all this, I do like this backfield. As much as I don't know if Najee is going to be here next year, we didn't pick up the fifth-year option on Najee Harris. Could be a guy like Devin Neal out of Kansas. I like a Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. He's fun to watch. I've watched a lot of Iowa football. Not only do their jerseys look like the Steelers, but I do enjoy watching Iowa just run the football still in 2024, almost 2025. But Caleb Johnson has the patience, has the speed to be a good running back. Running back in the future is going to be fun to watch. If you can't sign Najee Harris or don't want to pay Najee Harris, Jalen Warren is the perfect guy to pay. He can protect the passer. He can, catch the ball out the backfield, runs hard, hits the hole right away. There's no dancing around. perfect guy to keep it to pair with someone like a Devin Neal, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State possibly. But 120 yards rushing, not just from those guys, but Russ had 17 yards, and then Cordell Patterson had about 3 yards of rushing. The Steelers' identity is running the ball. They do like to run the ball a lot. Arthur Smith likes to run the ball to set up play action. They're not going to air it out a ton. But what's fun is, just seeing them find their identity finally. Beginning of the season, early on, Justin Fields was in the fold at quarterback, and then Russell Wilson finally took over. But it took them a minute to really find their true identity for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Arthur Smith loves his play action. He'll be around for a while. I don't think he's not going to take the North Carolina job. They did offer it to him. They did talk, and he's not interested. He's happy in Pittsburgh. Just a nice coordinator change. I'm not watching Matt Canada do 25,000. It felt like jet sweeps. I don't think I've seen a jet sweep this year when watching the Pittsburgh Steelers. But speaking of Russell Wilson, like I did, Russ had a slow start, was overthrowing some receivers on the fade routes to guys like Scotty Miller. 15 of 26, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 to Van Jefferson and 1 to Pat Freiermuth. Both play designs were nice. The Van Jefferson touchdown, they faked the read option with Russ. He faked it, really drew the defense to him as he ran out the pocket near the line of scrimmage. Van Jefferson sneaks out the backfield, and he catches a beautiful throw by Russ. The arm angle on that throw, oh, man, if that defensive end was in, like, the right spot by a smidge, he would have deflected that down. But Russ bent himself a little bit at an angle to get that into the end zone. Beautiful play there. But the throw to Pat Freiermuth was even more beautiful. Pat Freiermuth just showed that he is that other guy when Pickens is out. He led the team with receiving yards, 48 yards receiving and a touchdown. The ball is spread around a lot with this Pittsburgh Steelers team this year. We did acquire Mike Williams at the trade deadline, but you got Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, Van Jefferson. Ben Skowronek's been in the fold more as of late. Ben Skowronek, a former Ram, did make his way to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fits the mold of the Arthur Smith offenses, which is why I think he is there. You just got a lot of guys there. You also have Calvin Austin. Like, there's just so much receiving talent on the Steelers team, and you can spread the ball to Warren out the backfield. So that is a lot of fun. Then outside of that as well, Russell Wilson, since coming in, has really led this team, not just as a leader, but when plays aren't working to start the game, he doesn't freak out. He's calm, cool, collective, and not just motivates this team, but really shows the guys, hey, when things are going wrong, do not freak out. We got this. And the team is all in from what I've seen. You have Russ being all in. He loves playing for Mike Tomlin. A lot of guys love playing for Mike Tomlin. I almost think Hard Knocks is like a free agent flyer for players that are about to be free agents. If you see Mike Tomlin, he is a great coach. Should be up there for Coach of the Year this year, because a lot of people, hey, finished last in the division. That thing always blows my mind. Steelers last in the division. It's just funny to me because, like, I don't understand the whole hype from guys like Colin Cowher always picking us last in the division. Yeah, we don't have a quarterback. I know as of late with Kenny Pickett and then Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. Yeah, I could see if they were still here, but you got Russ Wilson and you have Justin Fields as your 2 quarterbacks. It's just funny. And then we have one of the best defenses this year. Patrick Queen, a free agent acquisition. Deshaun Elliott, free agent acquisition. Dante Jackson, a trade acquisition. Adding a lot of talent on this defense this year has really made us be at the top of this. I don't get the whole last in the division. I think it's a joke, considering Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. The worst he's finished is 8-8, and when he does finish bad with a winning season, outside of that, it's always 9-8. He's worked with some terrible situations. Devlin Hodges being at quarterback, that 2019 year, Devlin Hodges, Mason Rudolph going back and forth. Just it's always funny to me. But back to topic, Russell Wilson. I like that he has, elevated this team all around. He really interacts with each and every guy. Not only is he doing his learning, his film study, but he really just carries the team as a leader and will bring the guys together to watch film. He also has meetings with Arthur Smith. I believe it's on Friday nights where they get together, get the game plan together. It's fun to watch when you finally have a team that is putting things together, especially at the quarterback position. The most touchdowns that were there were Kenny Pickett with about 6 touchdowns, and then 7 another year because he had 13 touchdowns all around after 2 years and 13 interceptions. So outside of that, when you finally have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, the team elevates. That's what I enjoy. Looking on the Browns side, you have Ford and Chubb. Ford is the future there in Cleveland, but Nick Chubb, unfortunately, is starting to decline. When you've seen his injury from last year, it's really tough to bounce back after an injury like that. His knee got all bent up in a pile when he was trying to go towards the end zone. I believe that was week 2 of last year. So even though he's come back this year pretty strong, the fall off has unfortunately happened. Winston, 24-41. They did play from behind most of the game, so running wasn't really an option. It was a throw-heavy type of situation. Even outside of that, though, with Winston, they do tend to throw the ball and air it out more. They do have a couple good receiving options. This Cleveland team, as bad as they are, they're 3-10. They have been really, really competitive. They got the Chiefs this upcoming week, which should be a good game. Maybe listen, you look at the couple wins outside of the one win. They've beaten the Steelers and they've beaten the Ravens, which shows that they can beat playoff caliber teams. Could they beat the Chiefs? Who knows? A lot of people have not beaten the Chiefs. They just got some pixie magic over that. I don't know what's going on in Kansas City. They've just been winning so many close games this year. But the receiving options in Cleveland, you have Elijah Moore. He came from the Jets. I remember that trade. He got shipped off to Cleveland. 3 receptions, 34 yards. But the 2 guys that get the majority of attention or targets is Jerry Jeudy. He got traded from the Denver Broncos. 5 receptions, 64 yards, 12.8 yards per reception in a touchdown. And then after that, this tight end, I should say, in the past 2 games has had 30 targets. And in this game, he got 13 targets, had 7 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown in the second half. The Steelers defense really clamped down this game, averaging only a touchdown per half. Could have been a little bit different if Dustin Hopkins could actually kick a field goal yesterday. Would have made the stats for the points allowed that game a little bit different. Dustin Hopkins, 64% kicking field goals this year. They did just recently pay him after a good year last year, but dude has fallen off a cliff if I've seen it. He's missed a lot of kicks this year, which is points missing for Cleveland in some of these games. And then, looking at this, you also have some other stats in this game that tell the story. Turnover battle, Pittsburgh 3-2, 2 fumbles for the Steelers. Yeah. Really, when you look at all this at a bigger picture, the Steelers have had multiple turnovers as a defense in a lot of games this year. This game was another showing of that. James Pierre with a interception. You also had Keanu Benton looking like a defensive back when he got his interception. Read the screen really well there. It's interesting. And then you have Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney, I don't know how he's still in the league. Dude can't catch a pass, but he also can't catch a kick, I'm guessing. It's kind of hilarious at this point. He's over there on the sideline laughing when the coaches are talking to him or has that smile. Kadarius Toney will probably be out the league soon. Not much to talk about there. Third down also told a story in this game. Cleveland 2-13, 15.4% on third down. After that, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers being 6 of 14 on third down. That's about 42% on the game. 2-8 in the first half, but then did fix that a little bit in the second half, playing some more clean football. Fourth down, Cleveland 3 of 4. Steelers playing a lot of zone coverage near the end of the game when they had that big 27-7 lead for a while. Interesting to note, though, from these two games that they've played this year, Cleveland overall on fourth down, even with that snow globe game, 7 of 8 on fourth down, which is 87.5% on fourth down in those two games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh didn't go for it this game, or really didn't have to go for it, so they were in 0 for 0. Field goals definitely told a story, like I mentioned. Can we talk about Chris Boswell, though? He should be in the conversation for Steelers team MVP. There's a lot of guys. I was listening to 93.7 The Fan, and they had a great conversation this morning. George Pickens has his case, but really, there's about 3 guys that you could put up here on a poster board and pick from. One being 36-year-old Cam Hayward playing defensive tackle. He looks really hungry to win a Super Bowl this year, but he has 8 sacks on the season. Will definitely get to double-digit sacks with these last 4 games being played. He's been playing at a good level this year compared to last year when he got injured. Didn't quite come back the same, but this year he looks phenomenal. Another guy that you could mention for Steelers MVP is Russell Wilson and how he stepped into his role as the quarterback. It's just fun. But the main guy that I could think of is Chris Boswell being Steelers team MVP. He's almost broken the team record for field goals kicked this and made this year. He's also won 2 games by himself kicking field goals. Think about the Atlanta Falcons game. And then after that, think about the Ravens game in Pittsburgh, 18-16 win off Chris Boswell's foot. He should be the Steelers team MVP, but there are a lot of good choices this year and how that works. But this is the last thing to look at here, because you improved to 10-3, you get another divisional win to improve to 3-1. But this is where things get interesting. The Steelers and Ravens are going to be neck and neck for a little bit. The Steelers' next 4 games at Philadelphia. Then they have the divisional AFC North game against Baltimore in Baltimore. Baltimore already came to Pittsburgh. But then they have at home Kansas City and Cincinnati. But the way the schedule works out, you're on the road back-to-back weeks, and then you're at home back-to-back weeks. So this kind of works out because you can finish the season at home. But Philly is tough. Steelers haven't really won in Philadelphia in a while. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it's definitely been a while since the Steelers have won in Philly. And then in Baltimore, Baltimore has really been dominated by the Steelers in the last 10 games. The Steelers, besides 1 game overtime in the 2019 season when Juju fumbled the ball after Marlon Humphrey stripped it out of Juju Smith-Schuster's hands. And then after that, Kansas City is going to be a tough game. But if you play them now and you are in a competitive game, you'll know how to play them come playoff time. But finishing Cincinnati at the end of the season, probably not going to play Joe Burrow. Interesting to see how they can finish out the season. But it may be Joe Burrow being on the bench. So that's going to be fun to watch. But then you get to the Ravens last four. You have at the Giants, as much as that should be an easy win, the Giants can probably pull off a win. I doubt it, though. But the Ravens have struggled this year against bad teams. They lost to the Raiders earlier in the year, which was a bad win. You look at the Raiders now and how they play, it's terrible. And then after that, they got the Steelers, like I mentioned. But the last two games, you have the Houston Texans. As much as CJ Stroud has struggled, I think that after this bye week, you're going to see a better CJ Stroud. I wouldn't doubt it. CJ Stroud has, a couple games after this bye week to really show what he's got. And then you got the Browns to finish the season. I fully expect Winston in that team to be having starters at the end of the year to stay competitive. So it'll be interesting. It's going to come down to the end, but I do think if the Steelers win against Philly somehow in Philly, you improve to 11-3, and then you can beat Baltimore, improve to 12-3. Oh man, do you put yourself in a beautiful position? You're gonna need to hope for a Kansas City loss. Gonna look up Kansas City's schedule really quick because this could also paint a picture too. The Bills and Chiefs schedule we're gonna look up right now because if you can win these next couple of games, you set yourself up for a destiny for the 1 seed. Isn't out of the picture. It's quite possible. Anything's possible on a Sunday. Any given Sunday, a team can lose. Whether you're top of the list, bottom of the list, it doesn't matter. I got to look at this Chiefs schedule because it's important. I don't know how the Chiefs have pulled off some of these wins. They were in a close game with Carolina recently. But, it's a testament to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, the best 1-2 combo in the league right now between quarterback and coach. It's just a testament to how good Kansas City really is. We got to find the schedule here. Games schedule. Hold on. Looking this up on the MacBook right now. Alrighty. So here we go. The Chiefs' next 4 games, the Steelers are in there. They're the third game I'm going to mention. But here we go. Here's your 4 games for Kansas City. You have them playing the Browns. Then they play the Texans, the Steelers, and then the Broncos. The Broncos are not a bad team this year. They started out bad, but they've started to put things together with Bo Nix and Sean Payton there. So, as much as they already have the AFC West wrapped up after last night's win against the Chargers, you never know. You could drop that game after you rest some starters. That game, depending on how the playoff seeding is set up there. The Browns is going to be a tough game. They're going to compete hard. Could be an upset alert. The Texans is going to be a tough game, even without Al-Shazir at the linebacker position being suspended after that hit on Lawrence. So, Trevor Lawrence getting that hit and having the linebacker suspended and Al-Shazir, it's going to be an interesting game. The Steelers game, I think Russ can be in a shootout in that game. The Steelers have shown that they can put up 30-plus points this year, even with Justin Fields at quarterback and even with Russell Wilson at quarterback. So they can compete in high-scoring games, close games. They can play any brand of football just like the Chiefs can this year. So that'll be a fun game. And then after the Bills take a loss against the Rams, you're tied with them now, 10-3 at 10-3. And here's the Bills' last 4 games of the season. The top 3 seeds in the AFC are going to be a interesting watch. The Bills have the Lions. Then they have the Patriots. You have the Jets. And you have the Patriots the end of the season. So you have to play the Patriots twice, and you have the Jets. So they'll probably go 3-1, could go 2-2. You go 2-2 right now, that's 12-5. If the Steelers can go 2-2, they're 12-5. But you're going to need some stuff to happen there with the Bills. But between the Chiefs, Bills, and Steelers, you don't know what can happen. It could be a different 1 seed this year. But the Steelers, if they can win at least 3 of the next 4 games, they can not only lock themselves up for a top seed in the AFC in the 1 to 3 seed range, but they can have a home playoff game finally and see what they can do if they can host a playoff game at home. They might have to go on the road if they see someone else in the 1 or 2 seed. But it's important to see if you can get at least the 2 seed so you can play home games in Pittsburgh and to really set yourself up for a home playoff run. It's helped the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl. When you're playing in Kansas City, the Chiefs are dominant at home in the playoffs. It's just Patrick Mahomes that's just that dominant. But yeah, that's just really how I'm feeling. The Steelers have a shot. They recently got Alex Highsmith back, and that really helped them this last game. Without Alex Highsmith, or without TJ Watt at a certain point, they struggle to get the pass rush. But if you can have your big trio of Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, Nick Herbig all stay healthy, that D-line stays healthy, and that defense stays healthy, and that offense continues to not just improve a little bit, but keep taking jump after jump after jump, things are going to work out. So it's going to be a fun watch down the last 4 games of the season in the AFC, see if things move around a little bit. But that's going to do it here for the live edition here. If you want to check out my podcast, look up First Downs and Touchdowns. It's on my YouTube channel at Nate Skinner. I'll post a link somewhere where it's a picture of me in the tunnel at Acrisure Stadium, but I still gonna call that Heinz Field because that's what it is. And then after that, if you want to listen to it, audio version, it's on Spotify and it's Apple Podcast as well. So feel free to check that out. Coming up next on my podcast, gonna record this either today later or later today or tomorrow when I have a lot of time, is my reaction to the college football playoffs, the bracket, and everything going on with that. So that will be fun. I'm going to try to do this live thing more on Facebook a little bit. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And make sure to follow me on Twitter right up above right there. Also follow my Instagram for the podcast, First Downs, Touchdowns, and the YouTube up there as well. If you watched this at some point, thank you for watching. Your support is much appreciated. And we're going to keep pushing out some content. A lot of interesting stuff down the line. College football playoffs, December 20th, it starts. The NFL playoffs are slowly creeping up, getting close to the month of January. But yeah, so that's going to do it here. And make sure to check out the podcast. Everybody here, have a lovely day. I'm your host, Nate Skinner. Checking out for now. Have a great day, everybody.